Athos and the Tree of Hearts. In the quiet solitude of his chambers, Athos suddenly felt a searing pain in his right index finger. He immediately looked down, and his eyes widened in disbelief at the startling transformation. His digit had turned into an unyielding stone. "That witch will pay for this," he declared, shaking a defiant fist into the air. Earlier that day, it had been his right great toe that had succumbed to the curse of petrification. Now this. He had regarded her initial warning as a mere bluff, and he most definitely did not believe her claim that she had placed a grievous curse on him. He did not even understand that which he had done that made her so angry. He had in the past acquired farms from others without invoking such eldritch retribution.
"For this evil thing you have done," she had said, "your flesh shall change to match your heart of stone. You shall become stone, and you will die a slow and painful death."
Infuriated by her audacity, Athos had ordered his guards to seize her, subjecting her to a rather harsh punishment of 20 lashes of the cane for daring to speak to the king with such impudence. Athos sighed deeply. Now, what was he supposed to do? Then, as if in an answer to an unspoken query, a resounding knock echoed on his chamber door. "Sire, the seer from the Kingdom of Lux is here to see you," the voice said from the other side of the closed door. "Let him in," Athos commanded. A man, bent with age, limped slowly with a walking stick into the king's chambers, his silvery flowing beard preceding him and his crimson cape following behind. His pointed gray hat reminded Athos of stories of wizards and magi he had heard as a boy. "Rousloff," Athos said, "you are my last hope. None among the other seers I have seen understands this spell. I have heard tales of your unmatched prowess. Do not disappoint me. Can you undo this spell?" Athos peered deeply into Rousloff's eyes, surveying the numerous wrinkles spread across Rousloff's face. Athos concluded that Rousloff was at least 100 years old. Surely, Athos thought, if anyone would know what to do, it would be him. "I fear King Athos," his voice trembled like a leaf caught in a windstorm, "that the matter for which you have summoned me is exceedingly intricate." Athos's heart quickened its pace. "I do not have time for this, old man," Athos howled. "Can you or can you not undo this wretched spell?" "I cannot." Athos's heart sank like a heavy stone in a deep, bottomless well. "But," Rousloff continued, "if you eat of the fruit of the sacred Tree of Hearts, then, and only then, will you be free of this infirmity." Athos leaned in. "And where can I find this Tree of Hearts?" "The sacred Tree of Hearts dwells on the other side of the sunrise. The journey is plagued with many dangers and perils." Athos grew impatient. He had to embark on this journey with all the haste. He would gather a select cadre of his knights who would go with him in search of this enigmatic tree and would be done with this whole ordeal. "Sire, I must warn you, your company must consist of only those who journey willingly, because without such companions, the path to the Tree of Hearts would remain forever concealed." Athos had enough. He didn't need to listen to the ramblings of this old man anymore. Surely, among his loyal knights, he would find those who would willingly accompany him. That was not a problem. They had sworn to give up their lives to protect him. "Your advice is noted, old man. You may go now." Athos raised his hand to dismiss him, but Rousloff did not move. "You must remember, sire, that the tree reveals itself uniquely to each seeker, and it will only be found if it wants to be." "Very well. Now be on your way," Athos said. With a nearly imperceptible nod, Rousloff turned, his aged frame carrying him toward the exit. That evening, beneath the fading light of the setting sun, Athos rounded up all his knights in front of the palace and announced to them that he was going to be embarking on a dangerous journey. "Who among you shall venture forth by my side?" All 50 knights stood still. A hushed stillness descended upon the assembly, broken only by the gentle rustling of the evening breeze. Athos felt a stirring in his chest, the weight of the silence pressing upon him. He coughed and cleared his throat. "Who will journey with me?" Murmurs and uneasy glances rippled through the assembly, yet none of the knights stepped forward. Bewilderment tugged in the corners of Athos's eyebrows. Perplexed, he locked eyes with each of them, starting with his most trusted. "Rouchel." He raised his brows. "Sire." Rouchel's gaze remained affixed on the ground. "I just recently became a father. I cannot bear the thought of leaving my wife a widow or my child fatherless." Excuse after excuse tumbled forth, each one landing like an unexpected blow on Athos. Athos could not hide his shock. His mouth hung open in disbelief as the knights, one by one, declined to accompany him. He stood in stunned silence as the gravity of the situation settled upon him like a heavy cloak. His anxious face glistened with beads of perspiration.
Knights of honor, loyal and true, but this adventure just won't do. King's quest is bold, a royal decree, but sorry, sire, it's a no from me. We're taking a pass, so yes indeed. Staying put is all we truly need. King's quest, today's are not my call. We'll just stay here, standing tall. Battle cries from distant lands, but we prefer our own hearts and stands. These quests and fights are not my flair. We'll rather not, so we'll just stay here. We're taking a pass, so yes indeed. Staying put is all we truly need. King's quest, today's are not my call. We'll just stay here, standing tall.
I will go with you.
A solitary voice pierced the silence from somewhere behind the cluster of knights. Athos strained his eyes through the dimming twilight as the entire assembly turned around. "Surely I will reward him greatly," Athos thought to himself as the crowd parted for form a path. Athos watched with mounting anticipation as the valiant knight made his way through the parting sea of his fellow warriors. A murmur erupted and spread through the crowd. When the brave knight emerged from the shadows and finally stepped into the full light, Athos's jaw dropped. To his astonishment, it was not a seasoned knight, but a mere boy who had come forward. "Who are you?"
I am Wreath, and I will go with you, my lord," the young lad repeated. He was just a boy, and a feeble one at that, his slender frame standing in stark contrast to the armored and the battle-hardened knights. He wore a brown cape with a hood concealing most of his face. "Aren't you the stable boy?" one of the knights said. "A stable boy?" Athos echoed. "What makes you think you can endure the perils that await on this journey, let alone protect me?"
"From what I hear, sire, you only need a willing party, not necessarily a knight,"
Wreath said calmly, his face expressionless. "Do you think this is a joke?" Athos yelled into the night sky. "You are of no use to me. You cannot protect yourself, let alone your king."
"As far as I can tell, I seem to be the only willing soul."
Wreath looked around at the knights who averted their eyes. The king tossed and turned all night. He could not believe that no one wanted to go with him except that puny little stable boy. Surely by the next day, someone else, someone more suitable would be willing. He finally drifted off to sleep, but was woken up a few hours by a piercing pain in his left hand. In the grip of excruciating pain, Athos frantically examined his left hand, only to find it had indeed transformed into unyielding stone. "My entire left hand is a rock!" Tears welled up in his eyes. The curse that had befallen him was relentless, and his very life hung in the balance. Summoning the gods with urgency, he barked a command that would have been unthinkable only a day before. If he didn't do something quickly,
He'd be meeting his demise within a day.
"Guards!"
he called out, his voice laced with desperation.
"Bring me the stable boy!"
It had only been a few hours on their journey, and King Athos was already tired. He took in the sight of the lad who rode on the horse in front of him. Wreath's presence was unlike anything he had ever expected. There was an undeniable earthiness about him, as if the very essence of the forest clung to his being. Athos could not help but notice that Wreath's clothing, a simple brown cape with a hood, bore shades of green and brown reminiscent of the trees that surrounded them. It was as if Wreath were part of the very woods they now ventured into.
"Stable boy, how long is this journey again?"
Athos sighed heavily and got off his horse. He sat on a pile of rocks nearby. "It is a 2-day trip, sire," Wreath said, and got off his horse. Athos tried to stand up, but the weight of his arms dragged him right back to the rock. His arms had transformed into the very stones upon which he sat. A gasp from Wreath drew Athos' attention. "Sire, your foot!" Wreath pointed to Athos's left foot. His big toe, and the one next toe to it, had succumbed to the ominous gray hue that had befallen his hands. Athos stared at them, all color draining from his face. "Sire, we have to hurry before it's too late." Wreath helped him up and placed Athos' left arm over his shoulders. Athos could no longer get on his horse, so they left them behind. Wreath made sure to carry the bag of food and water. By nightfall, Athos's entire left foot had turned into stone. He walked with a pronounced limp and had to be supported by Wreath.
"I can't go any further,"
Athos said, beads of sweat glistening his brow. Wreath laid him down gently on the carpet of green grass. "We will rest here for the night," Wreath said. "I will start a fire to ward off the chill." Athos said nothing, sighed heavily, closed his eyes, and surrendered to the clutches of sleep.
"You will die a slow and painful death,"
Athos heard her say.
"No!"
He screamed, but as he looked down, he saw that a green flame had consumed his feet and was traveling quickly and engulfing him in their fiery grip.
"No!"
"Sire!"
Athos felt his shoulder jerk.
"You are having a bad dream."
Athos opened his eyes and stared into Wreath's troubled face.
"Sire, you are having a bad dream," he repeated. "Here, have some warm bread and some water. It will make you feel better."
Athos looked around him. The crackling fire that Wreath had started illuminated the thicket of pine trees around them.
"Where are we?"
Athos asked.
"We are in the forest of Mendobi,"
Wreath said, and brought warm bread on a wooden platter. He also filled a cup with water from his water skin. After placing the food in front of Athos, Wreath settled on himself on the other side of the fire and put a piece of bread in his mouth. Athos sat up, his hands by his side. By this time, both his arms were stony. He tried to move them, but to no avail. Athos stared at the boy munching away. His stomach growled.
"Sire, you're not eating,"
Wreath said.
"Are you not hungry?"
Athos swallowed the lump that had formed in his throat. He had never been so humiliated in all of his life.
"I cannot move my hands."
"Oh, sire."
Wreath dropped his food and ran over to him.
"I did not realize."
Wreath quickly broke the bread into small pieces and fed it to Athos. Athos did not realize how hungry he was until he started eating. He felt life return to his weighty body.
"That's enough,"
Athos said. Wreath put the bread aside and wiped the corners of Athos's mouth with a white washcloth.
"Thank you,"
Athos said, as if those words had been hidden deep within his vocabulary vault, only to resurface unexpectedly. Athos watched the crackling flames as Wreath put their wooden platters away. Athos's gaze shifted to Wreath. He stared at him curiously. Why would a young stable boy so willingly go on this rather dangerous journey with him? Did he really want the reward so much that he was willing to risk his life? Was there something else he was getting out of this?
"Who are you, Wreath?"
"I am no one, sire. Just a lowly stable boy."
Wreath took his place by the fire. Seriously, Tell me who you are and who your family is.
I don't have much of a family. My parents died when I was a child. I live with my sister, who is a widow. You may know her.
Reith warmed his hand over the fire. Really? How do I know her? Athos wondered where he had met his sister. Perhaps she was one of the cooks in the palace, or perhaps his numerous seamstresses. Reith sighed deeply. Athos saw that he was troubled. Something troubles you, Athos said.
Sire, the witch who cursed you is my sister.
Athos's eyes widened in disbelief. His heart felt as heavy as his limbs, and he wondered if it was petrified too.
You took her farm, the farm that her husband left to her. It was all she had.
Athos opened his mouth, but no words came out. Was Reith's sister really the witch that placed this curse on him? Athos felt his heart racing. Did Reith volunteer to come with him to finish what his sister had started? Where could he run? Could he run? At this point, moving a small finger joint would be a miracle. He had only one choice, and that was to beg. Please don't kill me, Athos pleaded.
I am not here to kill you. I am here to help you, Reith said. Please, don't be afraid.
A million thoughts tumbled and crashed into each other, which caused his head to hurt. Why did Reith want to help him? Was he telling the truth? Could he be trusted? Why? Athos finally said.
Because my sister and I are different. We have different ways of doing things.
Athos was too frightened to ask any more questions. He decided he was going to be quiet and convince himself that this is all a dream. There really was nothing he could do. He was at the mercy of this young lad, this lad whose family he had greatly wronged. Athos lay down and closed his eyes. He just hoped he would still have enough breath in his lungs by morning. Aha! Look what we have here! Fresh meat! A deep baritone voice interrupted his dreamless nap. Was this another dream?
Who are you men?
Reith said. It doesn't matter who we are. What matters is what you have to give us. Athos opened his eyes and saw Reith kneeling before three men dressed in leather skin. The one that spoke had a black patch over his right eye and a sword in his hand.
Please, take whatever you want, but please spare our lives,
Reith pleaded. Athos tried to sit up, but it was too difficult. And who do we have here? One of the other two men walked over to Athos and grabbed his tunic over his chest. Athos was too shocked to speak.
Please,
Reith pleaded.
He's my friend. He is sick, and I'm trying to help him.
The bandit looked at Athos from head to toe. I can see that! He let go of Athos, and Athos fell back to the ground with a loud plop. He will be of no use to us, the man with the patched eye said. They turned their attention back to Reith.
I don't have much, but I have some gold coins. You can have them if you want.
Reith put his hand in his pocket and brought out 3 gold coins.
It's all my life savings. You can have it, but please spare our lives.
The 3 men looked at each other and mumbled some words that Athos could not hear. We agree to your terms. The patch-eyed bandit grabbed the coins from Reith's hands before he could change his mind. Do you have any food? I'm starving, one of the men said. Reith pointed out the food bag to him. Let's be on our way, boys, the patch-eyed bandit said. One of them picked up the food bag as they walked into the woods. Reith and Athos's gazes followed them until they vanished into the dark woods.
Are you okay, sire?
Reith walked over to Athos's side. I don't think I can stand up.
I would help you, but we must keep moving.
Supporting Athos, they journeyed for hours with no food or water. By nightfall, Athos' vision swam and sharp pains radiated through his whole body. With every step, the earth's pull got stronger. He was never going to make it. He was going to die on this journey. He did this to himself. He got what he deserved. Reith, Athos said, I cannot move myself anymore. I am tired. Let me just die here.
But sire, we are nearing the land beyond the sunset. Please endure just a little while longer.
Wreath, Athos said with all the energy he could muster. You don't understand. I cannot move myself anymore. Wreath looked down at both Athos's feet. Everything up to his knees was stone.
Then I will carry you.
Before Athos could protest, Wreath threw him on his shoulders like he was a mere sack of hay, surprising Athos. Perhaps he was not as feeble as he thought.
You can't die now, sire. We are almost there.
Wreath's voice broke, and Athos thought he was crying, but he was too weak to say anything. Athos lay on Wreath's shoulder like a lifeless animal. He was going to die, and it was all his fault. He had been so wicked to everyone around him, and now he had met his end. Put me down, Athos said after a while. He was done with it. It was over. He deserved to die. Because of him, this poor lad, for whatever reason, is risking his life for him. He was being selfish again, putting another life in danger, making someone else suffer for his sins. Wreath gently laid him on the grass. They were in another forest, but Athos did not care anymore. He could barely make out Wreath's face under the dim moonlight. Wreath, please, forgive me. Athos was breathing hard. His chest was firmer than normal. Forgive me for bringing you out here, risking your life for the sins that I committed.
But sire...
Wreath's eyes were moist. No, Athos won't let him speak. Listen to me. My time is here, but I need to say this before I go. He paused to swallow saliva. Please ask your sister to forgive me for the evil I did to her. It's too late, Wreath. I am sorry I brought you out here. You have been selfless, a loyal friend. You have been good to me, even when all I have ever been to you was evil. I'm sorry. Please, forgive me.
But sire, we are here. We made it.
Athos furrowed his brows. He managed to turn his neck to look around. There were only thick bushes, no special tree. He turned around to look at Wreath. Wreath looked different. He was now standing over him, and it looked like he had branches shooting out from his sides and one from his head. Red hearts flung off each branch. Athos stared wide-eyed. Wreath?
I am the sacred tree of hearts,
Wreath said calmly, kneeling by Athos. You are the tree?
Remember, the tree appears differently to different people and can only be found if it wants to be.
Athos was speechless. Was Wreath going to heal him, after all he had done to his family?
Your broken body was only a reflection of the condition of your heart, but now that you have come to realize your faults, your healing has begun. My sister is justice, but I am mercy.
Wreath reached out and plucked one of the hearts off the branch on his side and held it close to Athos's mouth.
Here, eat.
Athos sank his teeth into the red heart. It was soft and sweet, like an apple. The moment he bit into it, he felt a warmth surge through his entire body. His heart raced as he attempted to lift one leg. It moved, and then he tried the other, and the same thing happened. He moved his arms, too. The gray color gradually faded, and he could see his flesh again. The pain was gone.
Go, and sin no more,
Wreath said.
Once I had a heart of flesh, so warm and bright, but my deeds turned it to stone, and I lost all light. carried me